all fruit. So revered, in fact, that many non-apples, avocados, eggplants, pomegranates, pineapples, quinces, tomatoes, computers, defunct record companies, and at least one northeastern metropolis have sought to make the apple name their own. Man, on the other hand, ever since he was able to put Crayola to cave wall, has sought to cast the apple as a kind of literary fruit fatale, a dangerous symbol of desires gone awry, discord, and, well, forbidden knowledge. Oh, thanks, but I've already got one. Nice snake, though. You know, I guess with a Latin name like Malice, it's tough to be good, even if you are good eats. With choices, of course, come challenges. I mean, Crispins, what are they good for? Can you cook a Mountaineer? Criterion, I thought that was a mid-sized sedan. Well, ever eager to categorize, we've decided to divide the apple kingdom into three distinct categories: the raw, the cooked, and the baked. The raw category, of course, includes out-of-hand eating apples. What's best? Whatever you like. Now, I like these little lady apples, but that's just me. Whatever your favorite, look for ripe or slightly underripe specimens that have a good clean aroma, heft, tight skins, and firmness. Now granted, the flesh of some apples should be softer than others, but if the flesh gives to just gentle finger pressure, odds are the apple's mealy on the inside. Now, certain apples exceeding in the out-of-hand experience, Ginger Gold, Fuji, Jonah Gold, Cortland, and Wine Saps, hold their texture and resist browning when cut, making them perfect for Waldorf salad, the study in minimalism designed in 1893 by Oscar, legendary maitre d' of New York's Waldorf Hotel. The salad was a two-note tune: chopped apples and mayonnaise on lettuce. Lettuce doesn't count as a note. Now, the Waldorf's classic status comes from its zen-like balance: creamy, tangy mayo, tart, crisp apples. Now, our version starts with 3 apples, 2 Ginger Golds, and 1 Red Delicious. Now, both of these varieties resist browning, which is a plus, but you can use any apple that you enjoy out of hand. Other varieties up to the job include... Now, there are plenty of devices out there designed for whittling apples, but unless you plan on doing this kind of thing at home, all you really need is a knife and a melon baller. The melon baller being the true unsung hero of the kitchen. Now, once you've cut the apple in half, just use your melon baller to scoop out the very middle of the core there. Make sure you get all the seeds. Then, just lightly scrape from the stem end all the way down to the blossom end. There you go. Now, using your paring knife or a chef's knife, chop into medium-sized bites, and then toss with 3 tablespoons of cider vinegar. Now, the acid in the vinegar will keep the enzymes in the apple from turning it brown. Vitamin C and lemon juice will do the same thing, but they don't taste very good. Now, fold in 1 cup of good quality mayonnaise. Nothing that claims to be salad dressing or dessert toppings, please. Fold in thoroughly, completely surrounding all those pieces of apple. Then, season with a pinch of kosher salt and a few grinds of black pepper. Lay this out on a lettuce leaf and voila, you've got a Waldorf salad. But everything evolves, at least in food, and salads in particular. A few years after its creation, somebody added 3/4 of a cup of toasted walnuts, and it stuck. Why? Well, the nuts added flavor and texture without destroying the balance of the salad. Now, could we go further? Would adding more enhance or derail the dish? Well, what would you do next? Add golden raisins, sliced grapes, or gummy bears? The raisins. Are you sure? Well, to balance the earthy crunch of the nuts, I'm afraid you would need a cup of golden raisins. That's right. Do you want to go on? Really? Okay. What about something to boost the mayo? Would you stir in cayenne pepper, garlic powder, or curry powder? Curry powder. Is that your final answer? Well, since it gets along so well with sweet and savory ingredients, I'm afraid that 2 teaspoons of curry powder is correct. Now, you have achieved balance. You can eat now, or you can keep playing. Want to keep going? Okay. To add another layer of flavor and texture, you would add toasted croutons, biased cut celery, or popcorn. Croutons, huh? Are you sure you wouldn't really prefer a couple stalks of celery cut thin on the biased? Maybe you should use one of your lifelines. Celery? Gonna go with the celery? 2 stalks of celery, biased cut, is correct! Okay, stakes are going up now, so listen carefully. What fresh herb would enhance the dish without disrupting the apples or the curry? Would it be fresh mint, chopped lemongrass, or a pinch of potpourri? Take your time. Really think about this. Potpourri, mint, lemongrass, certainly delicious. You're going to go with the mint. Do you really feel good about this decision? Are you sure? Well, a third of a cup of mint chiffonade is correct. Chiffonade, of course, is French for shred. Isn't cooking fun? Now, to make chiffonade, you want to stack up several mint leaves, roll them, and slice them thin. Do not chop, or the edges will turn black. And we'll just fold that right into the salad. Now, the stakes are pretty high, so we better stop. You want to go on? Are you absolutely certain? Okay, a final question. All this sweetness could stand the earthy heat of half a medium red onion shredded, or a cup of potting soil. I guess that one wasn't very hard, was it? Doesn't matter, you win. The onion is correct. Now just fold all this together. Check your seasoning again, and serve on the traditional lettuce leaves. Could we have stopped anywhere along the way? Sure, we'd have a great salad, but come on, it's not like we're gambling with beef tenderloins here. Now that is a wonderful Waldorf. And when it comes midnight snacking time, I usually reach for applesauce. Comes to time to braise pork chops, applesauce. Crepe filling, applesauce. Potato pancakes, definitely applesauce. And when I reach for applesauce, this is the applesauce I reach for. It's about as easy as it comes. But before we get to the apple part of the applesauce, we've got a little bit of liquid chemistry to deal with in the form of unfiltered apple juice. Now, yes, you could do this with the regular kind, but it won't be as good. So 1 cup of the unfiltered stuff. There we go. Now, to bring out the kind of earthiness of the juice, I'm going to add just a little bit of cognac. You can use brandy if you want, but I like cognac better. And I'm just going to add 2 tablespoons. That's enough. It's just enough to bring out a little something extra in the juice. Also going to add 2 tablespoons, 1 ounce, of butter. And since butter weighs the same by weight as by volume, I'm going to do it by displacement. There we go. Now into a container, along with 3 tablespoons of honey. Now I hate measuring this with spoons because, well, it just gets all gunked up. So I usually give 1 squirt per teaspoon. So that's going to be 9 teaspoons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Nice, 9 teaspoons equals 3 tablespoons. Now there's only 1 spice in this dish, and that is cinnamon. And it's only going to take about half a teaspoon, and that's because in the presence of fat, the butter, the cinnamon's actually going to get stronger. It's going to have its flavor reinforced a little bit, so it doesn't take much. Now, did I mention that this is a microwavable container? That's right. It actually is good for something besides popping corn and reheating coffee and mashed potatoes. But first, we've got apples to peel, 6 of them to be exact. 3 Golden Delicious for sweetness and smoothness, and then 3 Fuji's for tartness and a little bit of added texture. Now, the only thing you need to peel everything short of a watermelon is one of these. And either one of them starts with taking the very top ring off the apple. Now, I turn the fruit instead of the peeler. It just works better for me. Now, you can just continue to circumnavigate the globe, so to speak, spiraling down. I've seen a lot of ladies making pie in Minnesota using this method. It takes a little bit more practice, but some folks say that it is indeed the fastest way to peel an apple. And of course, you've got, well, whatever that's good for. Quarter, seed, then give everything a good shake. It's kind of like making a big martini. Then open the lid, just one corner, a little crack. That'll let steam out as it generates. If you forget to do this, the lid's going to go off in there like a mortar. It'll be messy. You don't want that. Now, if you've got a carousel that automatically turns the food, nuke this on high for 10 minutes. If you don't have a carousel, you might consider donating your machine to the local appliance museum, or at the very least, buying one of those wind-up microwave carousels. If you can't manage that, then open the door every 2 minutes during cooking and just turn the container a quarter turn. Now, inside the microwave, a device called a magnetron tube sprays a fluctuating stream of souped-up TV rays called microwaves into a reflective fan, which bounces the energy around the metal enclosure of the oven. Any food that gets in the way is penetrated, and asymmetrical molecules like fat, sugar, and water vibrate, creating friction, therefore heat, which cooks the food. Now, since the air in the oven isn't actually heated, foods that require browning, like meats and bread, don't taste or look good when microwaved. This, on the other hand, does. Now, you can leave this exactly as it is and serve it chunky, or you can mash it, give it the old rustic treatment, or my favorite, buzz it. Almost smooth. Now, if you're not serving right away, let this cool to room temperature, then just chill in the refrigerator. You'll notice that over the next 2-3 days, the flavor is going to intensify. It's going to get even better than it is. Tightly covered and refrigerated, this will keep 2, maybe 3 weeks. What gives a good baking apple the backbone to stand up to an oven's heat? Same stuff that gives us backbone, calcium. Apples high in the mineral, Baldwin's, Northern Spy, Rome's, Granny Smith's, and Braeburn's, will soften as cooked, but like Weebles, they won't fall down. One of the first creations to emerge from the hotbed of American dessert design that was to be known as Pennsylvania Dutch country was the apple crisp. An incredibly simple device of just apples baked in a bowl in their own juices, but topped with a wonderful oatmeal device called a streusel. Now, on top of being just insanely delicious, the streusel is infamous for leaving an almost chisel-chipping residue on the bakedware. Now, we have bypassed that problem by going with an edible bowl, the apple. But first, the streusel topping. It doesn't get simpler than this. Starts with 3/4 cups of plain old oatmeal. Not instant oatmeal, not quick oatmeal, not the oatmeal that comes in the little envelopes that has the brown sugar and cinnamon already mixed into it. And the same amount of all-purpose flour, 3/4 of a cup. 2/3 of a cup of light gold brown sugar. It's not the dark stuff, it's just the gold stuff. And when you measure it out, pack it down and then rake it, okay? That's 1/3 and that's 2/3. 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon. Get through my spoons here. And that's going to be the primary seasoning. But to back that up and give it a little bit of dimension, I'm going to add 1/2 teaspoon of ginger. Ginger and cinnamon really work well together as a team, and you really don't notice that the ginger is there when there's a little bit more of the cinnamon. And finally, but always, a pinch of kosher salt. This does not make the dessert taste salty. Remember, salt is a flavor enhancer. It's actually going to make the apples taste more appley, the cinnamon taste more cinnamony. You get the drift. So just kind of stir this all together with your hands. And then we're going to work in 1 stick of cold butter, diced. The smaller the pieces that it's cut in before you start, the better. Now, for the next 30 seconds, minute tops, fold with your hands. Just get in there with your fingertips and squeeze the butter against the oatmeal. There, that's what you want. Still chunks of butter, it's still crumbly, and the butter is still nice and hard, which is what you want. If it gets soft on you while you're working, put it in the fridge for a little while. Let it get to hard again before you start working. So, we're going to park that and turn attention to the apples. You're going to need a cutting board. Oh, will you look at that? And you're going to need a paring knife and your melon baller. Now, the most important thing about carving up apples or, well, fruits or anything, if you ask me, is you don't do it up in midair. This results in putting your eye out. You want to keep it on the board. Cut off the bottom just enough to open it up and get a nice stable platform, which we've got. Knife in just at the apex of the curve at about a 45-degree angle. Do not get out your protractor if you are so inclined, just guess. And move the apple against the knife blade. I am not cutting towards my hand. I am holding the knife basically still, just moving it in and out while turning the apple into the knife. It's the safest way to go. And then you get a nice little lid. It's almost like cutting the top out of a jack-o'-lantern for Halloween. Now we still got the core inside there, so that's where the melon baller comes in. Just dig right down in towards the core and kind of just turn that core out. There, now if you see that little star in the bottom, that means that you've gotten all the seeds out, and that's great. So we've got a nice little reservoir in there. And just repeat that with all the apples. So streusel comes out of the refrigerator, but before we pack these bad boys up, we've got this little reservoir in here to deal with, and I like to fill it up with honey. You don't even have to measure it, just squeeze it right in there, almost to the top of that little reservoir. So, once the little reservoirs are full, you're going to need a baking dish, and you're going to work right over the bowl. So, take an apple, scoop up a nice big handful of streusel, and just literally pour it right on top. Then, you're going to press this first addition down, like that, lightly, almost till it's smooth. Then you're going to add another layer, and just sprinkle that one on and into the baking dish. Now, I like to use as small a pan as possible because I think it kind of helps the apples to cook. The heat kind of bounces off the pan and browns the outside. But you don't want them touching, so just space them out so that they're not touching each other or the sides of the pan. There. Now, into a 350-degree oven. Either in the middle or top rack is fine. And I'm going to set the timer for 40 minutes. And I'm not even going to look in there until this goes off. Now, since every apple variety is different, it's impossible to pin a cooking time on the dessert. You must apply the Charmin squeeze. Now, if you're used to handling nuclear material with your bare hands, you can use your fingers for this. Me, I'll stick with tongs. Just grab along the equator and squeeze gently. If nothing happens, you got more baking to do. But if the fruit yields to the will of the tongue, like that, time's up. Now, while you're here, you might as well check them all, because one raw apple spoils the bunch. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Like avocados and bananas, apples are auto-stimulators. It means they're capable of ripening even after they're picked. Now, this mean trick is made possible by a gas called ethylene, which is produced by the fruit itself. Apples, in fact, are such prolific ethylene producers that an underripe bunch of bananas will ripen in half the time if closed in a paper bag with a ripe apple. Now, ethylene production, unfortunately, signals the apple's final demise, but it can be halted, or at least slowed down, if the apple is kept cold and is deprived of oxygen. Now, New England growers a century ago used to seal their apples in barrels immediately after harvest, and they sunk them in lakes and rivers for the winter. When retrieved after spring thaw, the fruit hadn't aged a day. Today, airtight cold rooms loaded with nitrogen gas have replaced the sunken barrels, making it possible for an apple picked young in November to ripen here in your fridge come February. Now, you can add to the longevity of your apples by keeping them in plastic bags. I like the ones with little holes in them. Keep them refrigerated and away from other ethylene producers, unless, of course, you're trying to speed the hands of time. And be sure to remove any bad apples that show themselves. See, once just a single apple goes rotten to the core, its ethylene production skyrockets, and that definitely will spoil the whole bunch. Now, we hope we've piqued your interest in and appetite for the great American apple. You know, they really are a lot like Americans. They've got so many individual characteristics that you just can't rigidly categorize them. You've got to spend some time with them, get to know them on their own terms. Now, you can use these three dishes as kind of gauges to familiarize yourself with the Apple Nation and what it can do in your kitchen. Oh, geez, I hate to see those guys. That's why I eat one of these a day. You see, besides 5 full grams of fiber. Apple skin contains a powerful antioxidant. It's called flavonoids. And some new recent research shows that it may actually lower both heart attacks and cancer. Excuse me. Hiya, Doc. Here you go. This should keep you away from yourself for at least a day. How you like them apples? See ya. And we'll see you next time on Good Eats.
Good Eats.